The first light of dawn crept over the horizon. The ancient fort, perched atop a hill, caught the golden rays. Each stone seemed to glow. The fort walls, strong and tall, stood guard over the sleeping city. A new day was beginning. The air was still cool. The sweet sound of the Sutta singing filled the air. Their voices echoed through the quiet streets. The headman stepped out onto the ramparts. He raised his conch shell to his lips. The deep, resonant sound of the conch marked the start of a new day. The city was slowly waking up. The sounds of life began to fill the air. Birds chirped in the trees. Dogs barked. The smell of cooking fires drifted through the streets. The fort, once silent, was coming alive. The massive gates of the fort creaked open. 7 elephants, adorned with colorful cloths, strained together. They pulled on a thick rope, slowly opening the heavy gates. The drawbridge lowered with a heavy thud. The city was now open to the world. A stream of people and animals began to flow through the gates. Merchants, leading their laden bullocks, called out their wares. The bells around the bullocks' necks jingled cheerfully. Villagers carrying baskets of produce hurried towards the market. Women, their colorful saris bright against the dusty road, walked gracefully. They balanced pots of milk and ghee on their heads. Hunters, their faces etched with the weariness of the night, entered the city. They carried their kills slung over their shoulders. The city was a riot of color and sound. High on the fort walls, the captain of the guard kept watch. He scanned the horizon, ever vigilant for any sign of danger. His eyes narrowed as he saw a cloud of dust in the distance. Something was approaching. The cloud of dust grew larger. Soon, the captain could make out 2 horses, their coats lathered with sweat. They were pulling a chariot. A flag, bearing the symbol of a conch shell, fluttered in the breeze. It was the flag of Hastinapur. The captain's heart pounded in his chest. What was the minister of Hastinapur doing here? He had not been summoned. His arrival was unexpected, and it filled the captain with a sense of foreboding. He knew that this visit could mean only one thing: trouble. The chariot drew to a halt before the fort gates. Balabhathra, the minister of Hastinapur, stepped out. His face was grim. He wasted no time on pleasantries. He brushed past the captain of the guard and strode into the fort. Balabhadra's arrival caused a stir in the city. People stopped what they were doing and stared. The merchants' cheerful cries died down. The women's chatter faded away. An uneasy silence fell over the city. The captain of the guard hurried after Balabhathra. He led the minister to the king's palace. The palace guards snapped to attention as Balabhathra approached. He ignored them. He marched up the palace steps and disappeared inside. The news of Balabhadra's arrival spread through the city like wildfire. People whispered to each other in hushed tones. What was the minister doing here? Why had he come unannounced? What news did he bring? The women, gathered in their courtyards, speculated anxiously. Their colorful saris, once symbols of joy and celebration, now seemed to reflect the fear that gripped the city. The men, gathered in the tea shops and marketplaces, discussed the situation in low voices. No one knew for sure what had brought Balabhadra to their city, but everyone knew that his arrival meant trouble. Hastinapur was a powerful kingdom, and its ministers did not make unannounced visits without good reason. The people of the city had long enjoyed a peaceful existence. Their king Pradipa had ruled wisely and justly for many years. He was a benevolent ruler, loved by his people. His son, Santanu, was a kind and compassionate prince. Under Pradipa's rule, the city had prospered. Trade flourished. The arts and sciences thrived. The people were happy and content. They had no desire for war or conquest. They wanted only to live in peace. But now it seemed that peace was under threat. The arrival of Balabhadra had cast a dark shadow over the city. The people's hearts were heavy with foreboding. The ancient fort, once a symbol of strength and security, now seemed to loom over the city, a silent sentinel to the uncertainty that lay ahead. The sounds of the city, once so vibrant and full of life, now seemed muted, as if the city itself was holding its breath. The sun began its slow descent in the west. The golden light of dawn was replaced by the fiery hues of sunset. The day, which had begun with such promise, was coming to an end. As darkness fell, the people of the city waited. They waited for news. They waited for answers. They waited to see what the future held. But for now, all they could do was wait. and hope.